Hello, my name's Kevin Partner and welcome to the vlog. So what's this all about then? Well, I'm an indie author. I've been doing this since 2012 and I have been traditionally published both before and after that in the non-fiction arena, but I'm mainly writing fiction at the moment, and that is all self-published. I don't consider myself a guru at all. My earnings, whilst probably more than many self-publishers, are more firmly in the mid three figures than the 5, 6 and 7 figures of the true gurus of the indie publishing. Those people include people like Mark Dawson, Joanna Penn, Michael Anderley, all of whom provide brilliant resources to help get to grips with indie publishing. This is not such a resource. This is going to be more about the nuts and bolts types of things that people who are doing it for themselves right now actually need to think about and need to take action on. So today I want to start with a quickie, which is despite being a quickie, is pretty fundamental. In my opinion, you need three things in indie publishing. Three main things. If we look at an individual book, it needs to be a quality book. It needs to be the right book. It needs to be in the right genre, and it then needs to be marketed to the right readers. Now that seems pretty simplistic, and excuse me, I've got the dog rolling around on me. That seems pretty simplistic, and it is, but the fact that it's simple doesn't mean that it's easy, because it certainly isn't. So if we start with, I'm not going to talk about craft because I no doubt will cover that issue later, because the right book means many different things. It doesn't necessarily mean a book that's been edited to within an inch of its life. I want to talk more about the right genre. And I want to give an example from something that I've tried recently. When researching genre, there are two resources that I've used a lot. One is Chris Fox's book. I think it's called Launch to Market. And that gives a technique for actually evaluating how popular particular categories in Amazon are and what the competition is like. And also KDP Rocket by Dave Chesson. It's a piece of software that helps you find categories and then find keywords for those categories. It also helps you look at the competition. And that's great, and I use both of those. However, there are other things that you need to work out. First is, do you like writing in that genre? The second is, do readers like what you write in that genre? Is your particular take on that genre one that is going to chime with readers? Now, I also provide services to authors, and in one of those services is that I run promotions to help them build their mailing lists. I'll cover mailing lists again in more detail in a later vlog. I recently organised one on a subject in which I didn't currently have a book, so it was historical fiction. And as I was writing it, I've always enjoyed historical fiction, but I'm very fussy about which particular historical periods are in that fiction. I like Victorian era, I like Saxon, the Bernard Cornwell books, and I like his books set in post-Roman Britain. But when I thought about it, I thought, well, actually, the market for Saxon and post-Roman books is probably going to be more marginal than for Victorian books. But I had as I said, you can look at KDP Rocket and such like and establish that is probably true. So I decided that I would, having finished the fourth book in my science fiction series, I would just spend a couple of weeks writing a novelette. Turned out to be between 8,000 and 9,000 words in a genre that's what I've always enjoyed, and that is late Victorian fiction. So I wrote this book. It ended up being a paranormal story. It includes vampires. So lots of my favourite things in one book. So I wrote it, thoroughly enjoyed writing it. I have a personal interest in the location in which it was set because one of my ancestors ran the lodging house in which my story begins. So anyway, I wrote this, took a couple of weeks, enjoyed it, and bunged it up into this group promotion that I was running on BookFunnel, with around 30 other authors. And the aim was to find out how it did in relation to the other books on there. If it was downloaded less than the other books, then I would know that, or it would suggest to me that maybe this isn't a popular genre, popular subgenre of historical fiction. If it was downloaded more, then that would also tell me something. Having run a lot of promos for science fiction and fantasy, I know what I'm looking for, and I know what signifies a certain level of interest. It would, a lot of downloads would mean that you got the title right, you got the cover right, you got the blurb right, you got the genre right. And it's all relative to everybody else. Well, being as the promoter of the event, as the person organising it, I can see how it is doing compared to the others, and I'm delighted at how well it's doing. So what I've learned from that, actually, just to finish that point, I also added a link in the back of the book to a Google form which asked people to let me know if they wanted me to write more. And I've already had a number of responses, a good number, I'm very pleased with people extremely keen for me to carry on. The only complaint I've had is that they wish the other books were available already. Well, that's the classic example of put it out there, put it in front of people, see what they think. Yes, it was a free book, but it was a free book that was competing with lots of other free books on the same page, and it was doing well in comparison to those. So all of those signs are very good. I then marketed it or sent an email to my existing list, which is science fiction and fantasy, and I've got a lot of interest from them. So in the space of 4 days, because I was stupid enough to launch the promo on Easter Sunday, that was moronic. One of many moronic things that I've done, but there we are, lesson learned. Check the calendar next time. Despite all of that, I have got nearly 700 subscribers on my list already. Probably a third of those are brand new to me, and 2/3 are people from my existing list that have said actually that they like the idea of reading this book. And I've also, as I said, got a lot of encouragement from the link in the back of the book. I decided ultimately to stick it on Amazon because why not? So when I get to the end of my current series, which is 6 books, I will have a choice. I can either continue writing Robot Empire books, which is my current science fiction series, which is doing pretty well, generating about 80% of my fiction income, or I can go off and write more of these new books. The point being that to a degree I have taken the guesswork out of this. If I am able to get 600 subscribers or 700 subscribers in 4 or 5 days, that suggests to me that this is a subject that, at least on the face of it, people find interesting. The fact that I've got good feedback from people who have been all the way through the book suggests that the book itself is written in such a way that it works for that genre. So I can make that choice from a position of strength. I know what my Robot Empire books do. I know I have a reasonable idea of what money I can make by writing a Robot Empire book and how that affects the rest of the series. I don't know how much money one of these Victorian suspense books will make, but I do know there's interest, and that means it is probably worth a punt. So there we are. That's a simple technique. This promo was done on BookFunnel. It is very easy. I have got a video up that actually shows how to do it, but I may re-record that to make it a bit shorter. So there we are. That's the end of this first blog. Information is power. This technique, which I'm calling reader baiting, I probably shouldn't call it reader baiting, should I? But it's only one step away from mass reader baiting. But it is like putting bait out and saying, do you want it? Readers have said in this case, yes. They may have said no, and all I'd have wasted was a couple of weeks worth of writing, and I'd have learned that that is not a genre that I'm necessarily should be targeting. As it is, I've learned that it is a genre I should be targeting. And so the likelihood is that when the last Robot Empire book is finished, I will probably start writing these. Okay, that's it from me. Look forward to another blog soon.